The promise of a utopian life is always suspect. Faced with the Han tribe's emissary, a man radiating the casual authority to end them, the Yuqiao elder saw not a savior, but a swindler. Meat at every meal? Carts for all? A grand illusion. When pressed for the location of his people, the elder played his hand with masterful caution. Show me the rabbit before I release the hawk. He would not trade his clan's future for a mere promise. Realizing his impatience had backfired, the emissary, Yu Ji, course-corrected beautifully. This wasn't about charity, he grinned, revealing a predator's smile. It was about making the Han tribe stronger. Now that was a motive they could understand. The tension broke, and the real onboarding began, a masterclass in primitive corporate strategy. The intimidating CEO stepped away, the friendly project manager stepped in, and the newcomers were given a grand tour of their new Riverview property. But the Han didn't just sell a dream. They delivered an entire ecosystem of overwhelming support, burying the Yuqiao in tools, livestock, and supplies. They weren't just building a new village, they were being absorbed by an industrial behemoth. Voiceover. When a crushing, technologically superior force arrives, any hesitation or resistance appears pale and feeble. Tang Ji's internal monologue. On one hand, there are trains, bridges, and countless other marvels within reach. On the other, the vested interests of a few stubborn old fools. Is this even a choice? Hurry up and pack the dowry. Any later, and you might not even get the table scraps. Tang Ji and her niece, Tang Yao, knew exactly what was on Luo Chang's mind. They had long seen through his so-called grand ambition. For any tribe that caught his eye, there were only two paths: merge willingly, or be torn out by the roots. If the Tang tribe didn't take the initiative, their fate was predictable. The leadership would be wiped out, and their people forcibly absorbed. Better to seize the initiative than to wait for the blow. At least that way, they could leverage their value for a better deal. At this thought, Tang Ji stopped abruptly, the silver ornaments on her ankles chiming crisply. Yao, joining the Han tribe is not the problem. As for your marriage to Luo Chong, our people will only celebrate with firecrackers. No one will dare utter a word against it. She paused, her brow furrowing as her tone shifted. The only hard nuts to crack are those clan chiefs. Getting them to agree will be difficult. It all depends on Luo Chong's attitude. Does he plan to crush them with overwhelming force, to let his fists do the talking? Or is he willing to sweeten the pot, to offer some special privileges in exchange for their cooperation? Tang Ji laid out the stakes with perfect clarity, then tossed the ball into Tang Yao's court. My dear niece, what do you think Luo Chong will choose? Hearing her aunt's consent, the tension in Tang Yao's shoulders melted away. But at the mention of those old men, her gaze sharpened once more. Auntie, don't expect Luo Chong to be polite with them. Offer them benefits? Special privileges? That's no different from raising a pack of ungrateful wolves. Once their appetites grow and the privileges are no longer enough, you can bet they'll stir up trouble again. They'll start thinking the Han tribe owes them, that they deserve to be pampered. When that happens, they'll only become more demanding. Tang Yao mimicked the greedy expressions of the chiefs, curling her lip in distaste. Auntie, Luo Chong is a busy man. What time does he have for mind games with these old foxes? He's completely focused on developing his territory right now. I'd bet my life that if anyone dares to make trouble during the merger, his very next order will be. Tang Yao made a sharp slicing gesture across her throat. To slaughter them all. And don't you doubt it for a second. He is absolutely capable of it. Anyone who dares stand in the Han tribe's way will be crushed in the fastest, most ruthless manner possible. She lowered her voice, leaning in close to Tang Ji's ear as if sharing a world-shattering secret. Besides, I have a feeling Luo Chong planted spies among those chiefs long ago. If they dare to have any funny ideas, Luo Chong will probably know about it even faster than we do. What? Tang Ji's eyes flew wide, and she sucked in a sharp breath. He already has people in place. How is that possible? We haven't even merged yet. The man's methods were demonic, utterly terrifying. I can't be sure, it's just a gut feeling, Tang Yao said, shaking her head. But I'd rather believe it's true. He has the means, and the Han tribe has that mysterious agency called the Praetorian Guard. I hear this is exactly their line of work. Well, all right then. Tang Ji fell silent for a moment, her expression shifting from shock to resolve. She let out a heavy breath, as if she had just made a monumental decision. Then let's summon them all and lay our cards on the table. If they're willing to discuss this reasonably, all the better. If they don't know what's good for them, we'll try to persuade them. If that still doesn't work, we'll let Luo Chong handle it. The course was set. The Tang tribe's merger with the Han was the will of the people and the tide of history. For the future of more than 80,000 tribe members, sacrificing the interests of a few dozen parasites was a worthy price. She only hoped the scene wouldn't get too ugly. Whatever Lady Ji says. Seeing the decision was made, Tang Yao's face bloomed into a radiant smile as she nodded obediently. Tang Ji sighed and pointed a finger at her niece's forehead, her eyes a mixture of affection and determination. Once the decision was made, they moved with lightning speed. That very day, Tang Ji dispatched couriers, urging their horses into a gallop as they fanned out across the 8 commanderies. They were to summon the chiefs of every clan to a meeting in Tangqing Commandery, proclaiming that a matter of heavenly importance was to be discussed. The messengers swept like whirlwinds across the mountains and plains of the Tang tribe. When the clan chiefs received the news, they were overjoyed. They assumed the Han tribe was sending more gifts, or perhaps introducing some new, profitable technology. Eager to get a head start, each man raced like a rabbit. A journey that should have taken half a month was completed in just 10 days. Their horses whipped into a lather and run to ruin. Their obsession with profit was etched into their very bones. In Tangqing Commandery, within Tang Ji's private courtyard, beneath a thatched pavilion, dozens of pot-bellied clan chiefs were seated around a massive wooden table, their voices buzzing like flies as they argued and gossiped. Brothers, any idea why the leaders summoned us in such a rush? Who knows? Probably another handout from the Han tribe. Maybe they're going to build some new contraption for us. Speaking of which, some men from the Han tribe came looking for me in Panchir Commandery a few months back, a red-faced chief announced smugly. Oh, what for? Your land is nothing but rocks and mountains where not even sorghum will grow. What good could possibly come of that? Hey, don't you look down on our barren hills. The chief puffed out his chest, his voice booming. The Han tribe specifically wants to buy our stone. They sent experts to teach us how to quarry it, said they need it for building houses. They even hired our tribesmen for the labor and paid them wages. Good wages, I tell you. Well, now, isn't that something? Another chief drawled, his words dripping with sarcasm and envy. Don't the Han tribe use bricks to build their houses? When did they switch to stone? And they just had to have yours? I say, old friend, you aren't just spinning a tall tale, are you? Stone is nothing. Another chief from Longxi Commandery interjected slowly, his tone oozing with casual superiority. The tree sap from our Baijiao County in Longxi, now that is in truly high demand. I have no idea what the Han tribe wants with the stuff, but they buy as much as we can produce. I am simply forced to sell it to them. His words turned the other chiefs green with envy. Everyone knew that Baijiao County had the most natural rubber trees in the entire Tang tribe. It was a gift from the heavens, something no one else could replicate. It was infuriating. Just then, Tang Ji and Tang Yao entered the pavilion, followed by a squad of guards. They moved in silence. The buzzing chatter instantly died. Tang Ji's voice, cold as ice, shattered the quiet and struck every man's heart. It seems you chiefs have all made a fortune off the Han tribe. Her gaze swept across the crowd as she continued. I have to wonder, how much of that money did you share with your own people? Of course we shared it. The chief from Baijiao County shot to his feet, his face a mask of righteousness. We used the money from the sap to buy more looms for the clan. With looms, they can weave their own cloth and earn even more money. Oh, is that so? A frosty smile touched the corners of Tang Ji's lips. But I heard you pocketed all the money from the sap yourself. And those looms weren't free, were they? Your people have to work for you for 3 years without pay to cover the cost of the machines, and only then do they get to keep the cloth they weave. By that calculation, are you certain they're earning anything at all? The chief's face went pale. He opened his mouth to argue, but Tang Ji gave him no chance. Those brand new carriages parked outside the courtyard are also quite an eyesore. It seems you've all done very well for yourselves. Her gaze cut like a knife across the faces of the chiefs from Jinwu Commandery. And you, Jinwu has the most fertile land. It should be our tribe's breadbasket. But I hear your people are now on the verge of starvation. To plant more sweet sorghum for a higher profit, you forbade your own people from growing grain. You converted the best farmland entirely to sorghum fields. And when the money from the sugar came in, who pocketed the lion's share? Tang Ji's voice grew colder, the fury in her heart finally boiling over. Do you even deserve to be called clan chiefs? Voiceover, high-energy drama alert. A massive reckoning is about to unfold. To all clan chiefs, your just deserts have been packaged and are being sent via Luocheng Express, next-day delivery. Please be available to receive your package. No returns or exchanges. If the profits from the sorghum were shared fairly with the common people, that would be one thing. But the real problem was that the bulk of the money went straight into the pockets of these clan chiefs. The scraps left for the people were barely enough to buy grain. To make matters worse, the chiefs would then fleece them again on the very grain they needed to survive. They were utterly devoid of conscience, worse than beasts. Nonsense. Tang Ji, you've got it all wrong. A stout chief from Jinwu Commandery shot to his feet, the fat on his neck trembling. Who's been feeding you that rubbish? Who says our people are starving? Has anyone died? No, right? Exactly, another lanky chief chimed in. Wheat yields are low, corn doesn't sell for much, and growing rice requires converting the land to paddies. You think that can be done overnight? We had everyone plant sorghum to make more money and then use that money to buy grain. What's wrong with that? Finding their resolve, the chiefs from Jinwu Commandery straightened their necks and glared at Tang Ji with hostility. What was the meaning of this? This was their clan's business. As the leader, what right did she have to be so meddlesome? Was she trying to interfere in their internal affairs? Looking at these men still trying to justify their actions, Tang Ji was so furious she felt her lungs might explode. Fine, let's say you have a point. She took a step forward, her voice sharp and severe. It's been a year and a half since the Han tribe provided the grain seeds. If you were truly committed to helping your people convert their fields to rice paddies, why haven't we seen so much as a ripple of progress? And let's forget all that. Even if converting the fields is difficult, what about the money from the sorghum? By what right do you refuse to share it with the people? That is money they earned with their blood and sweat. Are you going to devour that too? Now, Lady G, that's not fair. The fat chief spread his hands, a picture of innocence. The common folk harvest the sorghum, but can they carry it all the way to the Han tribe to sell it themselves? Of course not. We, as clan chiefs, help them find buyers and arrange transportation. We can't be expected to work for free, can we? What's wrong with taking a small fee for our troubles? Watching these men argue their case with such self-righteousness, Tang Yao's anger flared. She had been living in the Han tribe for so long, she never imagined that the chiefs of her own tribe had become so rotten to the core. It was one thing to commit acts worse than animals, but to invent such noble-sounding excuses for themselves, it was simply unforgivable. Then how do you explain selling corn to your own people at twice the price of wheat flour from anywhere else? Tang Yao couldn't help but demand, her voice clear but laced with ice. It's the same principle, the lanky chief said, giving her a look that implied she was young and naive. They can't go buy it themselves, so we help them. We buy it, we transport it. Do you think that doesn't have costs? We add a little to the price to cover shipping. What's wrong with that? He shot Tang Yao a sidelong glance, his tone dripping with contempt. I say, little Tang Yao, you're not the leader yet. This is none of your business. Slam. Tang Ji slammed her hand on the table, her body trembling with rage. Her fingers shook as she pointed at them, forcing 3 words through her gritted teeth. Fine, fine, fine. When Luo Chong first wanted to move against you, I hesitated, still feeling a bond of kinship. I never imagined you would all turn into such monsters. You are parasites who care nothing for the lives of your people, interested only in lining your own pockets. What use are you? It would be better to just kill you all and be done with it. Boom. Her words exploded like a thunderclap in the pavilion. Every clan chief in attendance shot to their feet, their faces etched with terror. One of the bolder ones, trying to mask his fear with bravado, roared, "What did you say? The Han tribe's leader wants to kill us? By what right?" Tang Ji looked at this pack of well-dressed beasts, a cold smile the only expression left on her face. By what right? Her voice was not loud, but every word was a dagger to the heart. By the right that I have already passed the position of leader to Tang Yao. By the right that Tang Yao, as the leader of the Tang tribe, is about to marry the leader of the Han tribe. By the right that after our 2 tribes merge, all of you will fall under the jurisdiction of the Han tribe's government. And when that time comes, you can all prepare for the extermination of your families and the confiscation of your homes. At these words, every chief's face turned deathly white, paler than paper. The only reason they had dared to act so brazenly was because they were far from any real authority, with no one to rein them in. According to tradition, even Tang Ji, as the overall leader, had no right to interfere in the internal family matters of their clans. But now, Tang Ji was pulling the rug out from under them, preparing to hand over the entire tribe. Once they were fully merged with the Han tribe and subject to their laws, could they possibly expect a good outcome? Even if Luo Chong didn't pursue their past crimes, they could forget about ever lording over their people like this again. To cut off a man's source of wealth is like murdering his parents. This, they could never agree to. Tang Ji, you dare to pass on your position without our consent? Who gave you that authority? A chief instantly shrieked, pointing a finger at her nose. The leader of our tribe is chosen by all of us. It's not for you, the former leader, to just give away. Without our approval, That title is not yours to give. That's right. What right do you have? Ordinarily, if you wanted to pass on the title, we might have turned a blind eye. But now, you want to use a marriage alliance to give away the entire tribe? Do you even deserve to be called leader? I propose we depose Tang Ji and elect a new leader. Yes, depose Tang Ji. Elect a new one. Depose Tang Ji. In an instant, the crowd was in an uproar, their shouts echoing through the pavilion. Watching the frenzied performance of these pathetic clowns, Tang Ji and Tang Yao, aunt and niece, found themselves smiling through their anger. With just you lot. Tang Ji sneered. You want to depose me? Have you forgotten why our tribe is surnamed Tang? In my Tangshan commandery, on my home turf, what do you think you are? Who I pass my title to is not for you to decide. You think far too highly of yourselves. The moment she finished speaking, crash. The main gate to the courtyard was kicked open from the outside. A troop of guards clad in iron armor and wielding gleaming steel sabers stormed in like tigers descending a mountain, instantly forming a protective cordon around Tang Ji and Tang Yao. At the same time, with a series of soft thuds, 100 burly men appeared atop the courtyard walls. They were all armed with powerful longbows, their arrowheads glinting coldly as they took aim at the chiefs in the pavilion. The sudden turn of events left all the chiefs dumbfounded, their eyes nearly popping out of their sockets. Tang Ji, you borrowed soldiers from the Han tribe? You're conspiring with outsiders to harm your own kin. Kin? Tui. Tang Ji spat with disdain. You think you're worthy of the word? You're the ones who oppress and exploit your own people. Tang Yao also laughed coldly. Uncles, we didn't borrow any soldiers. We don't need to go to such trouble to clean up scum like you. She pointed to the archers on the wall. See them? These are all warriors from our own Tang clan. My aunt is right. Don't forget why this tribe is named Tang. Did you really think you could walk into Tangshan commandery and not walk out alive? Tang Yao's tone shifted as she turned to the captain of the armored guards. Oh, and by the way, these armored soldiers weren't prepared just for you. Banner Captain Sure, why don't you enlighten them? Yes, my lady. The captain of the guards stepped forward, his voice like a booming bell. I am Sure Jinkai, Banner Captain of the Jinwu Guard, the personal guard of the Han tribe's leader. My sole duty is to protect the leader and his family. Lady Tang Yao is now the fiancé of my leader, and therefore she is also under the protection of the Jinwu Guard. The leader anticipated that your ladyship might encounter trouble upon your return to claim your title, and so he dispatched us to protect you in secret. Now that you filth have indeed crawled out to obstruct her, it is my duty to remove you from her path. With a metallic ring, Sure Jinkai drew the saber from his waist. The blade flashed as he pointed it at the assembled chiefs, who collectively stumbled back a step in terror. The Jinwu Guard, the Han tribe's most elite unit? Their leader had sent the Jinwu Guard to protect Tang Yao? It seemed the news of the marriage and the merger was true. Didn't they hear him? He was already calling her my lady. Voiceover. Welcome to the scene of a major plot twist. 1 second, they were shouting about rebellion. The next they find out their opponent has flipped the table and brought cheat codes to the fight. To all the clan chiefs, aren't you surprised? Isn't this unexpected? Friendly reminder. If you surrender now, you might still be eligible for a VIP prison cell. Tang Yao, a chief from Jinpu Commandery, stamped his foot in fury, spittle flying from his lips as he pointed at Tang Yao's nose and cursed. You're not even the leader yet, and you're already turning your blades on your own people. Have you no conscience? Have you forgotten whose food you ate to grow up? He was in the middle of his tirade when he felt a sudden numbness in the small of his back. Thud. Someone, some scoundrel, had kicked him from behind. His whole body flew through the air like a sack of garbage. Splat. With a sickening crunch, he landed face first in the dirt, right at Sure Jinkai's feet. The next moment, an iron boot came down on his back with a crack, pinning him to the ground. A cold steel blade was instantly pressed against his neck. You dare to insult my lady? Sure Jinkai's voice was devoid of warmth. Tell me, how would you like to die? As he spoke, he swung his arm, the long saber whistling through the air as it descended. Arg! The chief squeezed his eyes shut and let out a strangled cry. A warm wetness spread through his trousers, and the foul stench of urine filled the air. However, the searing pain he expected never came. He cautiously opened his eyes to find he was still alive. Sure Jinkai's blade had only sliced off the top knot of his hair, instantly transforming him from a sanctimonious clan chief into a disheveled madman. With this little courage, you dare to challenge our Han tribe? Sure Jinkai kicked him in disgust and waved to his men. Drag him away. Yes, sir. 2 Jinwu Guard soldiers immediately stepped forward and hauled him out like a dead dog. Tang Yao covered her nose and mouth with a handkerchief in disgust, her cool voice ringing out once more. Uncles, I will not kill you today in my aunt's home. I wouldn't want to dirty the place. But it's only been 2 years since I left, and I never imagined you would all become such monsters. It truly breaks my heart. Her gaze swept over the crowd, filled with deep disappointment. I remember it was I who traveled thousands of miles, using my medical skills and herbs to trade for grain seeds and technology from the Han tribe. I thought it would allow our people to live better lives. But what have you done? You few from Baijiao County, she said, looking at the pale-faced chiefs. Did you plant those rubber trees yourselves? When you sold the sap, why didn't you share the profits with your people? You gave them a few looms and then forced them to work for you for 3 years without pay. Is this the better life you speak of? And you, from Jinwu Commandery. Her voice sharpened. You deserve to be sliced into 1,000 pieces. At least they were taking advantage of a windfall. But you? You forced your own people to give up their food source to grow sorghum for you. You unscrupulously pocketed the majority of the money they earned with their blood and sweat. It would be an offense to the heavens if you were allowed to live. Of course, I will not kill you today, Tang Yao said, her tone shifting again. Your life and death are not for me to decide. After our 2 tribes merge, we will let your own people hold a public trial. We will see if your own kinsmen and subjects will spare your lives. You dare? Tang Yao, don't think that just because you've latched onto the Han tribe's leader, act. Let go of me. You insignificant Han tribe soldier. What right do you have to seize a chief of the Tang tribe? Let go of me. Art. One of the Jinwu chiefs exploded in a fit of rage. He had just jumped up to curse her when a Jinwu Guard soldier beside him grabbed him, dragged him aside like a chicken, and began to beat him without mercy. His life was to be judged by the people, but there was nothing wrong with giving him a good thrashing first, right? Watching their colleague being publicly beaten, the remaining chiefs were scared into silence, huddling in a corner and whispering amongst themselves. It's over, it's over. This little vixen is really going for the kill. She's the future wife of the Han leader now. Who cares about poor relatives like us? We'll be lucky if she doesn't have us all killed. Stop talking nonsense and think of a way out, or we're all going to die. Just then, a few chiefs from Panchir Commandery stood up and pointed angrily at the others. Who's we? Who's your kin? I, for one, wholeheartedly support the merger. I've been sick of you parasites who prey on your own people for a long time. Just you wait. This is what you call reaping what you sow. You traitors. Traitors? We've never harmed our own people, a Panchir chief said, his head held high. Anyone with eyes can see how powerful the Han tribe is. The profits you're raking in now, didn't they all come from them? Without the Han tribe, you'd be drinking the northwest wind. I am ashamed to be associated with you. That's right. As long as we don't have to change our surname, what's so bad about joining the Han tribe? If it means a better life for our people, I'm willing to give up my position as chief. Beneath the thatched roof, the crowd instantly split into 2 factions. On one side were the capitulators, led by the chiefs from Panchir Commandery. On the other were the wicked hardliners. It wasn't that they didn't want to surrender, they didn't dare. Tang Yao's words about a public trial by the people had effectively signed their death warrants. The Panchir chief stepped forward again. Little Tang Yao, we have no objection to you dealing with them. But you can't just paint us all with the same brush, can you? We haven't done anything so outrageous. Tang Yao nodded slightly. Rest assured, uncles. My husband, Luo Chong, is fair in his rewards and punishments. He will never wrong a good person. Justice lies in the hearts of the people. If you are innocent, your people will naturally not make things difficult for you. But if your own people want you dead, then there is nothing we can do. This tactic of win over one faction to strike at another was a skill Tang Yao had clearly learned from Luo Chong. Hearing this, the chiefs from Panchir, Taigang, Haizhou, and several other commanderies breathed a sigh of relief. Truth be told, while they weren't overjoyed about joining the Han tribe, it wasn't entirely unacceptable. After all, who wouldn't want a better life? Their biggest fear was that the Han tribe, in order to facilitate the takeover, would find some pretext to eliminate all of them as remnants of the old regime. Now, with Tang Yao's guarantee, a weight had been lifted from their shoulders. Of course, their clean records weren't entirely due to a clear conscience. It was more, a lack of opportunity. Watching the Jinwu chiefs get rich off sorghum and sugar had made them green with envy, but alas, their own lands were not so fertile. Voiceover. The scene of a grand family reunion has instantly transformed into a massive factional showdown. It turns out that in the face of absolute power and the threat of a public trial, any alliance is a paper tiger. The honest men, who never had the chance to misbehave, let out a collective sigh of relief. Thank goodness we're poor, or we'd be done for today too. In the Han tribe, grain was a strategic resource, guarded with fierce jealousy. Private grain sales? Unthinkable. All transactions had to go through government-run granaries. Under these circumstances, if you were foolish enough to follow the example of the Jinwu commandery fools and plant your entire land with sorghum instead of staple grains, there was only one possible outcome. You would starve to death. Because even if you had money, there was simply nowhere to buy grain. The regions with poor soil couldn't have copied them even if they'd wanted to, and so they were naturally denied the opportunity to exploit their own people. And it was precisely because of their poverty that they were lucky enough to escape this disaster. At the very least, here in this courtyard, they could stand tall and declare that they had never harmed their own people. As for whether they might entertain such ideas in the future, well, that was a matter for another day. Rest assured, uncles, Tang Yao's voice carried a hint of all-knowing confidence. Luo Chang's people have already conducted a thorough investigation into all of you. Otherwise, how do you think my aunt and I knew about the sordid affairs in Jinwu and Longxi commanderies? She wasn't just bluffing. She had mentioned to Tang Ji before that Luo Chang might have planted spies. Tang Ji hadn't believed her, until Tang Yao quietly asked Shi Jinkai and learned that Luo Chang's sky net had been cast long ago. The Jinwu Guard had a crystal-clear picture of everything those clan chiefs had been up to. At these words, the remaining chiefs from Jinwu and Longxi commanderies lost all composure. Tang Yao, you dare to conspire with outsiders to scheme against us? You planted spies among us. Tang Yao quickly waved her hands, a playful, cat-and-mouse grin on her face. No, you've all misunderstood. We don't have the time for that. All of this, it was your own people, the ones you oppressed so relentlessly, who went to the Han tribe in tears to report your crimes. If you hadn't pushed them to the brink, would they have gone so far as to report their own clan chiefs? In the end, all it took were a few bags of grain for the Han tribe to get such crucial intelligence from your own people. She paused, her eyes glinting with amusement. You should all really take a moment to reflect on why your own kinsmen, who share your blood, would sell you out for a few worthless bags of grain. Boom. Tang Yao's words struck the chiefs like a physical blow. The world seemed to tilt on its axis, as if they had been struck by lightning. So that's how it was. The ones who had betrayed them were the very people they had trampled underfoot. Had they gone too far? Had they really pushed them to the point where they had to rely on the charity of outsiders just to fill their stomachs? A bitter smile appeared on their faces. All their arguments and resistance vanished in that instant. Resigned to their fate, they lowered their heads and allowed the Jinwu Guard to drag them away. In the courtyard, the remaining chiefs looked at each other, their gazes finally settling on Tang Ji and Tang Yao. Tang Ji, Tang Yao, what happens now? Tang Ji and Tang Yao exchanged a look, a silent understanding passing between them. Everyone, Tang Ji cleared her throat, her voice carrying throughout the courtyard. Tomorrow, we will hold the succession ceremony, where I will officially pass the title of leader to Tang Yao. Upon her succession, Tang Yao will immediately announce two major things. First, her marriage to the Han tribe's leader, Luo Chang. Second, the Tang tribe will formally merge with the Han tribe. I hope that when the time comes, you will all publicly pledge your support to Tang Yao, and after the ceremony, return to your respective territories and announce this news to all your people. Her tone shifted, and a benevolent smile spread across her face. Oh, and one more thing. To ensure your safety on the road, Governor Lin of Tuahai Commandery will dispatch soldiers and officials to escort you back and help you see this matter through. I trust you will all cooperate. Of course, the Han tribe will not treat you unfairly. After the merger, all clan chiefs will be granted noble titles, ensuring a lifetime of wealth and honor. If your children and nephews wish to pursue a career in government, they will be given priority for training and assigned to posts in various locations. At these words, a chill ran down the spines of the chiefs present. Well, this wasn't protection, it was surveillance. Sending soldiers and officials with them? They called it help, but it was clearly supervision. They were afraid the chiefs would stir up trouble when they returned home. However, they also knew this fear was not unfounded. They might be agreeing now, but if they were let loose, who knew what chaos they might cause? If they incited a rebellion or simply packed up and fled, it would be a huge problem. The Han tribe had just finished a major war and couldn't afford any more instability. This carrot-and-stick approach, while humiliating, was not entirely unacceptable. After all, they were at the mercy of the Han tribe. Fortunately, the carrot Tang Ji offered was quite tempting. Their sons and nephews could become officials, and they themselves would receive noble titles. A Han tribe title came with real benefits, land and grain, a guaranteed livelihood. As for being assigned to posts in various locations, they didn't quite grasp the full implications, but it seemed harmless enough. Only Tang Ji and Tang Yao knew that this was another of Luo Chang's little tricks. If you want to be an official, fine, but not in your own hometown. It was called being posted to a different region, completely eliminating any possibility of them amassing their own power base. The chiefs had no choice but to agree on the spot. Tang Ji and Tang Yao were very pleased with this outcome and immediately ordered a banquet to be prepared for their guests. Of course, for the time being, no one was leaving the courtyard. The gleaming blades and spears at the gate and on the walls were not just for show. As soon as they stepped out of the courtyard gate, Tang Ji asked, "Yao Yao, what will become of the ones from Jinpu and Longxi commanderies?" Tang Yao didn't answer, but simply looked at Shi Jinkai, who was standing beside her. Shi Jinkai understood immediately. "Rest assured, my lady," he said with a fist and palm salute. "I will have my men escort these individuals to Tuahai Commandery. They will serve as a negative example, to be publicized throughout the Tang tribe to win the hearts and minds of the people for our Han tribe. You just focus on your succession. The leader has already made all the necessary arrangements for you. A legitimate merger through marriage, using the crimes of these fools to win over the people, a two-pronged approach of enticement and suppression." Tang Ji and Tang Yao nodded in satisfaction. Those men had brought this upon themselves. Even if they were flayed alive, they deserved it. They were not worthy of a single shred of sympathy. Voiceover. The curtain falls on a grand drama, with some celebrating and others in despair. Aunt and niece have successfully cleared the obstacles, while Luo Chong has executed his plan from afar. And those once arrogant clan chiefs? Some are now prisoners, others have become turncoats. This all goes to show one thing. In the face of absolute power, all schemes and plots are nothing but a joke. Of course, let's not forget to thank their foolish accomplices for their spectacular assists. All right, let's do it. Decisive as ever, Tang Ji made the call. "Time is short, we need to split up. I'll go arrange tomorrow's ceremony. You go find Governor Lin in Tuahai Commandery immediately and have him dispatch soldiers and officials." She paused, then added, "It would be best if they arrive tomorrow, the day after at the latest. We have those old men under house arrest, and if we wait too long, they're bound to stir up trouble." "Don't worry, Auntie." Tang Yao agreed at once. "I'll make sure there are no delays." "Good. And you be careful, too." After exchanging a few more words, the aunt and niece hurried off in separate directions. Tang Ji went to gather the tribe's most respected elders to discuss the details of the ceremony. Tang Yao, meanwhile, took a contingent of the Jinwu Guard, crossed the river by boat, and headed straight for Tuahai Commandery on the opposite bank to personally borrow troops from Deshu. Tuahai Commandery, Governor's Office. Deshu was grinning from ear to ear as he gave Tang Yao a warm reception. Was he kidding? This was the woman who was gifting the Han tribe a population of 80,000, the future third lady. As one of the original members of the tribe, how could Deshu not be ecstatic? "You have nothing to worry about, third lady." Deshu slapped his chest, his voice booming like a drum. "The leader made arrangements for this long ago. Officials? We have them ready. We'll transfer a batch from our Tuahai Commandery and promote another batch from among the young men of your own clans. We'll have it done in minutes. Manpower? Even less of a problem. The leader has sent the elite Jinwu Guard. They're our Han tribe's most battle-hardened ace unit. More than enough to keep things under control." Like beans pouring from a bamboo tube, Deshu laid out all of Luo Chang's arrangements. With the steel blades of the Jinwu Guard reasoning with them from behind, he was confident those clans wouldn't dare to be uncooperative. Speaking of the Jinwu Guard, they were a bunch of energetic war fanatics. They had been resting in Tuahai Commandery for nearly half a year since the war with the Xian tribe, and their bones were about to rust from inaction. Now, hearing there was a mission, they were all rubbing their hands together and howling with excitement. Though Luo Chong was far away in Hanyang Commandery, he was pulling the strings from afar. Deshu sent a letter every day, keeping him constantly updated on the latest developments in the Tang tribe. With a single order, all 3,000 soldiers of the Jinwu Guard were mobilized. Following Luo Chang's instructions, 100 soldiers would be stationed in each of the Tang tribe's 27 counties, accompanied by an administrative team. They would first set up a basic framework, gathering information on population, household registration, and land acreage. Once the situation stabilized, they would focus on development tailored to each region. The core idea was simple. First, let the people taste the benefits and see a tangible improvement in their standard of living. Only then would they bring up the matter of taxes. Otherwise, it would be easy to provoke resentment. With all preparations in place, all that was left was the final push. The moment Tang Yao arrived, Deshu set things in motion. That very night, a massive contingent of soldiers and officials crossed the river in batches, assembling in Tangqing Commandery before dawn. This grand display instantly cranked up the prestige of Tang Yao's succession ceremony to the maximum. It also sent a clear message to everyone. Do not mess with this new leader. She had Luo Chong backing her. Otherwise, who could possibly mobilize the Han tribe's ace army? The next morning, the sacrificial square in the city center was already a sea of people. If you had to pick the place in the entire Tang tribe with the best impression of the Han tribe, it would undoubtedly be Tangqing Commandery. Tang Ji herself was the biggest chief and had never mistreated her people. Furthermore, being just a river's breadth away from Tuahai Commandery meant they had the most contact and, naturally, the highest favorability. So, when the people saw the awe-inspiring Han tribe army in the square, they felt no fear. Instead, they were filled with admiration and respect. Thanks to the friendly contribution from the Jinwu Guard, the scale of this ceremony was unprecedented. Military drums and horns sounded in unison, creating an atmosphere of extraordinary grandeur. Dong, dong, dong. After 3 rolls of the drums, Tang Ji led the crowd in the solemn sacrificial rites. The Tang tribe's sacrificial ceremony was unique, with quite a few deities to worship. There was the god of wind, who controlled the gales and rains, to whom they prayed for favorable weather. There was the god of water, who ruled the rivers, lakes, and seas to ensure a bountiful catch. There was the god of grains for the harvest, as well as the sun and moon in the sky. Most peculiar was their worship of a man named Fu. According to legend, it was this deity, Fu, who had invented the art of iron smelting, bringing sharp weapons and farming tools to the Tang tribe. Over time, this Iron Man of the tribe was deified. In addition to these, they also had to worship their founding ancestor, a man known as Tang. This figure was even more legendary. It was said that he taught the people to eat cooked food, led them to expand their territory, and established the Tang tribe. The offerings were also very particular. They did not use the 6 domestic animals, like oxen, sheep, and pigs. Their tradition emphasized a complete range of offerings. Something that flies in the sky, something that swims in the water, something that runs on the ground, something that grows in the earth, and something that flows in the river. These 5 categories were all indispensable. Moreover, the bird, the beast, and the fish all had to be alive, to be slaughtered on the spot during the ceremony. Normally, this wouldn't be a problem. But this time, the ceremony had been arranged in a hurry, and preparing everything became a bit of a scramble. Fortunately, their wealthy and generous, good neighbor, the Han tribe, simply provided everything. A beast? The Han tribe's domesticated saiga antelopes were enormous, with magnificent horns, and they had plenty to spare. A fish? Forget live freshwater fish. If you wanted a live, thrashing tuna, the Han tribe could get one for you the same day. A bird? Aside from the Azuka giant eagles used for sending messages, which were off limits, they could take their pick of chickens, ducks, and geese. Voiceover. Now this is how you properly latch onto a powerful patron. The offerings they couldn't manage themselves, their big brother next door provided in full. This wasn't a tribal merger. This was a poverty alleviation program and a luxury, all-inclusive package. People of the Tang tribe, you can just count your lucky stars. The sacrificial ceremony was a symphony of blood and fire. An antelope, a river fish, and a black-feathered chicken, the 3 sacred offerings, were bled out on the spot before the watchful eyes of the crowd. The 3 streams of hot, fresh blood flowed into a massive earthenware basin, steaming in the cool air. Tang Ji, holding a sheaf of golden wheat like a sacred scepter, repeatedly dipped it into the basin of blood, and then solemnly sprinkled it onto the totem poles representing the gods and ancestors. Droplets of blood splattered across the ancient wooden pillars, leaving mottled stains that seemed to speak of an ancient covenant. After the blood sacrifice came the ritual feast. The 3 offerings were swiftly and expertly butchered. Along with the sheaf of wheat, they were tossed into a giant clay pot. Wheat stalks were lit underneath, and a cauldron of divine soup began to bubble and simmer. The heads of the antelope, chicken, and fish were to be set aside as offerings to the gods. The rest of the meat and soup was to be divided among everyone present. Even a single bowl of soup was considered a blessing, imbued with the good fortune of the gods and ancestors. After a long and elaborate process, the ceremony finally reached its climax. Tang Ji stood on the high altar, looking down at the dense crowd below, her voice ringing out loud and clear. People of the Tang tribe, today is a great day, for we are electing a new leader. For this occasion, we have specially invited the chiefs of all the clans to witness this moment. Although a few were unable to attend, it is of little consequence. As long as the new leader receives the support of more than 70% of the people, The election is valid. She paused, her gaze falling upon Tang Yao, who stood beside her. Her eyes were filled with pride and expectation. Now, I, Tang Ji, in my capacity as the current leader, nominate Tang Yao to succeed me. Tang Yao is a good child whom you have all watched grow up. She is kind, brave, and skilled in the art of medicine. She has traveled throughout our lands, healing the sick and saving the wounded, and has been praised by all as a holy maiden. She personally journeyed thousands of miles to the Han tribe to trade for high-yield grain seeds and advanced technology for us. Corn, rice, soybeans. Which of these did she not bring to us at great personal risk? I can proudly say that Tang Yao has contributed more to our people than any descendant in the history of our Tang tribe. If she does not become the leader, who else is qualified? My people, are you willing to accept Tang Yao as your new leader? Tang Ji's words were like a stone tossed into a calm lake, instantly creating 1,000 ripples. We are willing. We want the holy maiden Tang Yao to be our new leader. With Tang Yao as our leader, our lives will surely be better. A tsunami of support roared from all directions. Tang Yao's prestige was already deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Kind, beautiful, with a record of great achievements, and with this solid backing of being the leader's niece, her succession was practically a foregone conclusion. Tang Ji raised her hand in satisfaction, signaling for silence. Then, her gaze, sharp as a hawk's, swept over the clan chiefs who had been invited to stand on either side of the altar. Esteemed chiefs, do you have any other candidates? If not, do you agree to Tang Yao's succession? The chiefs cried out in silent misery. Gods above, with 3,000 armored soldiers surrounding this place like an iron barrel, if we dare to say no, won't we be chopped into mincemeat on the spot and served as the sixth offering? How could we possibly disagree, unless we have a death wish? And so, in an atmosphere of harmony and friendship, the chiefs stepped forward one by one to express their heartfelt support for Tang Ji's decision and their enthusiastic anticipation for Tang Yao's succession. Amidst a chorus of cheers, Tang Yao accepted the scepter that symbolized the leader's authority. She was dressed in a magnificent brocade gown from the Han tribe, her hair adorned with pearls and jade. Every movement she made exuded grace and nobility. My people, she walked to the front of the altar, a smile on her face. Thank you for your trust. I will lead you all to a better life. The people erupted in another round of enthusiastic cheers. In the past 2 years, following the Han tribe's lead, haven't our lives improved? Don't corn and rice yield more than our wheat? Isn't the flour ground by the stone mills more fragrant? With livestock, aren't we able to eat more meat? Aren't the clothes made of cotton more comfortable to wear? This series of questions left the people momentarily stunned. Of course, the things from the Han tribe were good. But why was the new leader asking this? Before they could process it, Tang Yao's voice rang out again, filled with passion and power. I know our lives are much better, but that is not enough. Before I returned, I had already discussed this with the leader of the Han tribe. He is willing to help us undergo a complete transformation in the Han tribe's image. In other words, from now on, everything the Han tribe has, we will have too. They have a government, so we will build one. They divide the land, so we will too. They have plow oxen for rent, so we will rent them too. From this day forward, you no longer need to envy anyone in the Han tribe. I promise you, whatever they have, we will not lack a single thing. Boom. The square instantly exploded with excitement. A complete transformation. Was this real? Plowing the fields with oxen? Distributing land to each household? And the legendary photographs that could capture a person's image? Even the mechanized wells that could irrigate the fields when there was no rain? Oh my heavens. Happiness had come so suddenly. Voiceover. When it comes to making grand promises, who's the master? Han Yang's own Luo Chong. Tang Yao's 1-2 punch of getting something for nothing and painting a beautiful picture of the future was fast, accurate, and devastatingly effective. She instantly maxed out the expectations of the Tang tribe's people. This just goes to show that when it comes to winning the hearts of the people, nothing is more effective than the promise of a tangible, achievable common prosperity. Digging wells? What's that? I heard the Han tribe is starting a strategic grain reserve. They say they want to store enough food to last the entire tribe for 5 years without farming. My gods, how does their leader's brain work? The man's a genius. What you're talking about are small matters. The most important thing is the government. You have no idea. The people over in Jinwu Commandery are still starving. What happened? Jinwu Commandery has the best farmland. How can they be starving? You don't know, do you? A well-informed man lowered his voice, speaking in a conspiratorial whisper. Their clan chief is a real monster. He forced his people to plant all their good land with sorghum, saying it would make them money. And the result? All the money went into his own pocket. If the people wanted to eat, they had to use their pitiful earnings to buy corn from him, and he sold it for more than the Han tribe's flour. You tell me, how are they supposed to eat their fill? What? Is that really true? Those clan chiefs are monsters. You're telling me. Did you notice that a few of them weren't here today? I'll bet our new leader already dealt with them. I think this complete Hanization is probably related to that. The leader said we'll have a government from now on. Think about it. In the Han tribe, every man gets 20 mu of land, and they have to plant grain. If we do the same, can those bastards in Jinwu still force their people to plant sorghum? Of course not. That's the real benefit. That makes sense. I hear the Han tribe's government manages everything, but they actually get things done. If the people have problems, the government really solves them. Unlike here. Sigh. Our brothers in Jinwu Commandery have really had it rough. Below the altar, the people chattered excitedly. Their conversation quickly shifted from hopeful dreams of the future to a verbal crusade against the chiefs of Jinwu Commandery. After a friendly and enthusiastic discussion, everyone came to a simple conclusion. Complete Hanization was a very, very good thing. And that was enough. Tang Yao was very pleased with this result. She stepped forward once more, her voice clear and bright. Everyone, rest assured. Everything you are hoping for will come to pass. These Han tribe soldiers and officials you see here are here to help us establish our own government. From now on, if you have any difficulties, just go to them. They will certainly help you solve your problems. Good. We support the leader. Complete Hanization. Establish a government. We want plow oxen. We want land. Looking at the impressive Jinwu Guard soldiers and the black-robed officials surrounding the square, the people's hearts were filled with confidence. No wonder the new leader was so sure of herself. She had even brought the manpower with her. All right, since everyone is in agreement, you may all disperse. Go home and think carefully about what problems you need the government to help you solve, and raise them when the time is right. Tang Yao waved her hand, and the excited crowd began to disperse, still chattering happily about the good days to come. After the crowd had left, the clan chiefs who were being escorted home also began their journeys. Each of them was accompanied by a squad of Jinwu Guard soldiers and an administrative team. They would have to repeat, word for word, what Tang Yao had said on the stage. And if they dared refuse, the swords of the Jinwu Guard were not for show. Only Tang Ji and Tang Yao remained in the square. Tang Ji's smile faded, her brow furrowing slightly. Yao, why didn't you mention your marriage to Luo Chong and the merger of our tribes? Isn't complete Hanization just a softer way of saying the same thing? Why not be direct? But Tang Yao smiled, a hint of cunning in her eyes. Auntie, this is what Luo Chong taught me. He calls it substance over form. First, we establish the government and sort out the household registration and land distribution. That is the substance. Once that is done, it won't matter whether our tribe is called Tang or Han. In reality, it will already be a part of the Han tribe. The title of the merger is just the form, and whether we announce it now or later is unimportant. Besides, Luo Chong specifically instructed me that the cause and effect of the marriage and the merger must not be reversed. It has to be because I am marrying him. Our two tribes will merge, not because he wants to marry me. The Tang tribe is being absorbed into the Han tribe. It might seem like a small difference, but it gives the people a completely different impression. The latter sounds like a hostile takeover and would leave a sour taste in their mouths. So, Luo Chong's plan is a three-step process. First, we announce the slogan of complete Hanization to let everyone get used to the idea. Second, when the time is right, we announce my marriage to him. Third, in the future, when I have a child, I will use the excuse of being with child and unable to manage the tribe to logically and seamlessly announce the official merger of the Tang tribe into the Han tribe. Tang Ji was stunned. Realization dawned on her, and she couldn't help but exclaim, "My heavens, he truly is the Han tribe's leader. He's thought of everything. This way is indeed much better than just announcing it directly." Yes, Tang Yao agreed, nodding. Otherwise, if I had just become the leader and then immediately gave away the tribe, along with myself, it would seem as if I had betrayed everyone's trust. By doing it in 3 steps, not only will people not resent it, they will sincerely bless us. Having settled the details, Tang Yao immediately took up a brush and wrote a long letter, detailing everything that had happened over the past 2 days, and gave it to Shi Jinkai. "Banner Captain Shi, please have this letter delivered to your leader with the utmost speed. Now that the dust has settled here, he must be anxiously awaiting news." "Yes, Third Lady. I will send someone to deliver it at once." Voiceover, The Art of Politics. Luo Chong's 3-step plan of boiling the frog slowly is a textbook maneuver. Not only did he take over an entire tribe without shedding a drop of blood, but he also managed to win the hearts of the people and a happy marriage in the process. Tang Ji, I'm still on level 1, while he's already playing on level 5. That's the difference.